Hi. Hello, everyone.
Howdy doody.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. So, welcome to Retro Repairs live stream. This is already number 4 for us, and it's nice to see you all here. I hope that you're feeling well. Our guest is going to be, and hopefully it's going to be Rudy from Rudy's Intel channel, and he will join us a little bit later. But now, let's talk a little bit about what we have been doing lately in the last couple of weeks. I personally, myself, I didn't do much except for that donkey game. But you guys have been very productive. So I know that we have some ZX Spectrums and Amigas, and we have some new cores for our Mister, and we have some special Commodore 64 journey with Neil. So yeah, how about let's start with Steve?
Last couple of videos. Last one were the Amiga from Paul Robinson's from Retrobase channel. He sent me that Amiga board down. I think I've still got it here actually because he's not been in touch yet. That was the Amiga board. There were a few trace repairs that were, well, to be fair, he was desoldering it himself, and I think what he'd said to me was that he'd used an iron that were too big, and he think he's taken some traces off, so he sent it down and wanted me to try and patch it up. So yeah, that's one of the little things that I was doing just recently. And then there was that other thing, I forget what they call it now, that slow down.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that very much.
It was quite clever, really. And you're looking at Ghostbusters and getting it on, and just putting it frame by frame. You could actually watch every movement of it. It was quite clever. It was interesting as well because there were some places when you on the Star Wars part of it where it slowed down like the walker, but yours doesn't, and their bullets don't. And I think it works on by throwing interrupts into it or something like that and flooding it.
And then it depends how the game is actually built and what interrupts it's using for
yeah. So it worked quite well on that when it was slowing the walkers down, and you just had to dodge a bullet and keep on.
Great way of cheating, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and today really I've just been messing around with this Pi thing.
Oh,
Pi thing. Now, Lee Captain Commodore sent it to me a long time ago. God, it must have been over a year ago or something like that now by now. And I've just never got round to doing it. So I stuck a Raspberry Pi in it, fired it all up. No screen.
Did it do anything?
I had to go into options config file and start packing about with that a lot to get screen to come on, and that worked. I thought good stuff. And then every time I tried to load something, it'd just lock up solid. And it was like, what the hell? So Lee sent me a copy of his SD card over so I could eliminate that sort of equation. And it was just what Lee had said. He said, how are you powering it? I said, just stuck it in from USB, from PC, USB 3. You know, and it said clearly on the instructions that you needed about 2.5 amps.
Yeah.
So I stuck it in my phone charger, and hey, presto, it actually works. So I spent about 3 hours today. Going to do a video on that, and no. So there will be a video coming up on one of them to follow.
Oh, nice. So how about you, Todd? You're playing with Spectrums.
Yeah, that's my recent work has been looking at the British micros that you guys are all very familiar with. My Lee Amstrad CPC and my ZX Spectrum that Steve generously donated to me. The last video was just released last night as the TZX Duino build, TZX Duino Reloaded, and testing that out on both those PCs. So that's what I've been working on. I think the next video will be the ZX Spectrum with the Div MMC that I also received. So that's in the works. I also need to do an exploration video. I got a nice haul on a couple of Atari 800s. here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to be doing some video on those. So that's what's kind of in the pipeline right now.
Nice. So, Lee, how about you? You've been playing with the Raspberry Pi and stuff also, right?
Yeah, I've been playing a bit with the Mister still. I've had some trouble getting a hard drive to work. Lack of power, eh, Steve? Same thing happened to me.
That makes me feel a whole lot better.
So I'm gonna have to tap into the supply to power the hard drive as well. I've also been playing with RetroNAS. I don't know if any of you users tried that. It's a Linux distribution that can actually set up a NAS that's specific to retro machines, and it can support a lot of the older protocols. It looks really good, and I've got it all running on a Raspberry Pi at the moment, and it can serve out the Mister. It's a good bit of kit. After that, I've been playing with the another FPGA system called the ZX They've just released an update for it, so I thought I'd bung that on there and struggle with that for the rest of today. So that's pretty much all I've been up to.
And Neil, how about you? You have some special journey with your Commodore 64.
I am, yeah. I'm finally getting around to doing it. It's all in pieces now, actually. I mean, it's in this box here. It's in a few boxes down there. I did have this to do as well, surprisingly. Now I've learned some more hints and tips. Exactly, yeah. But yeah, I've still got, I mean, it was good actually, because say the first videos I did on it, like, I was messaged by Steve to say the sound doesn't sound right. I couldn't recognize that until I played it back myself.
Oh, without a doubt.
You can hear the difference. So. Then, of course, I looked in my box of goodies that Captain Commodore sent me, and I found this fake SID thing, is it? What's it called?
SwinSID.
WinSID, that was it, yeah. So, obviously, the next video I plugged that in, I could hear the difference in it. So, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've still got a lot of cleaning to do, some repairing to do, actually, because when I pulled two of the key tops off, it snapped two of the stands. So, I'm going to have to strip all that down. It wasn't my fault, Lee. It just happened.
Yeah,
our little Commodore, it's lived for 40 odd years,
and he's never
snapped. As soon as he gets his mitts on it.
I've had that happen to me as well. When you pull the caps off, some of them inflates the stems.
Yeah, I mean, I was using that as well. So the head whisk, I was using my whisk, but it didn't work. It worked on most of them, just two snaps. So I'm going to do that, obviously, and. Yeah, I've got a lot to do with the C64 yet. I want to get it, let's say, because it's my own machine, I want it to be really good. So
I'll bring some of them stems with me when I see you, Neil.
Sorry?
Take one of those old stems out, and then when I see you, I'll bring some different stems with me and stuff, and I'll get you some.
Yeah, because we've got our meetup coming up soon, haven't we? So yeah, it'd be good. Yeah. I mean, that's it. So obviously more C60 sort of stuff coming my way anyway. So
nice. Okay, so we have Rudy waiting. So we will invite him to join us. So let's go with that. And here we go. Hi, Rudy.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Rudy.
Hi, Rudy.
Hi, everyone today.
Good, thanks.
Good. Thank you for inviting me to your wonderful show.
Yeah, no problem. Nice to have you. So you've been playing with spectrums as well lately, modifying composite mode and memory expansion and stuff. So yeah, we were just chatting about that.
Yeah, I just got into the Spectrum computers, maybe a month or so now, and I thought they were fantastic computers, but we never, in Canada, we didn't really have that experience that you guys would have in Europe with the Spectrum. Yeah. The only thing we had in in North America, US, and Canada was the Timex Sinclair ZX81
Yes.
and the Timex Sinclair 1000, which is, I think, it's a ZX81. And we had the ZX80 before that. You could buy it as a kit. I remember as a kid looking at that kit and saying, "Oh, this kind of you can solder a bunch of chips and have your own little computer." So now,
UK, where we had mainly Commodore 64s and the Spectrum, and the trade-offs between the two. I mean, okay, Commodore 64 were pretty good with sprites and stuff like that. Color palette, maybe it were a bit poor, really. It could have been better. But obviously, you had the awesome sound of the SID coming out of the 64 that just blew it away anyway. But the Spectrum downside really with for me with the color clash, the crappy little beepy speaker that were built inside it. But other than that, the detailing on the characters and stuff like that, what they could do with the graphics were a lot cleaner. It were a lot nicer, a lot sharper. I mean, you look at like Saberwolf and stuff like that. That were awesome with that. Very colourful. It was just the clash that sort of let it down, wasn't it, on with the Spectrums?
Yeah, the Spectrum computer. My understanding is that you can get sound out of the, I believe it's the earphone jack.
Mic.
If you're not using the mic.
Yeah. So
you could plug it into an external speaker and get better sound than the internal little speaker that's in it. But I'm pretty amazed. I like the fact that it's running a Z80 or Z80 processor, depending on how you call it. Or you are.
There's only one American. You can keep calling it Z80.
So, I have a couple of Z80, Z80 processors. I have one in my Apple II Plus. I have a K-Pro computer, but they don't do graphics. They do CPM, and that's wonderful. But nothing like the Spectrum computers. And so I was blown away. It's like, oh, I got to get one, but they're so expensive to get here. Because you have to get them from Europe and import them, right? I got mine. Where was it? I think it was Greece, and I got a great deal. I got both the Spectrum and the Spectrum Plus, and just been playing around with it. And I think it's pretty cool. I'm just getting more and more into the UK side of things now.
Yeah. Of course, on the other downside to the rubber key Spectrum, or the flesh keyboard, as they call it. Is you couldn't turn the bloody sound off. And as a kid, trying to sneak gaming in when your mum and dad had gone to bed wasn't possible. Do you know what I mean?
Well, Steve, Sinclair wasn't big on switches. They didn't even put in a power switch. So they're not going to put in a sound switch.
Yeah, it'd been nice for something, though. You know what I mean? Like an on-off switch on the side of it, or something for sound. But no. I got busted hell of a amount of times with that.
If you're handy with a soldering iron, you can put one in.
If you don't mind, case, yeah. Hey, Rudy, in case you didn't know, the Timex Sinclair line with the Sinclair 1000 and 1500, that did extend to a 2068, I think it was called, this Timex Sinclair 2068,
right,
which was the Spectrum.
Oh, okay. Yeah, even that's hard to find now, the 2068. I've been looking around for a while, and it's either way too crazy price or it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I did a video on the different diagnostics cartridge because I'm into the hardware side of things, and I wanted to play around. I did a video on that, and I was surprised that I found 3 different diagnostic cartridges for the Spectrum. Most computers only have 1, maybe 2, but you guys went crazy with this stuff over there. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think that the Spectrum is actually the most cloned system of all of the retro computers, except maybe Apple too. But the Spectrum, the clones of the Spectrum number of clones is huge. There is all sorts of computers.
Yeah, I see.
I beg to differ. I would say that the IBM PC XT clone computers out there.
Yeah, wow. But that's a little bit different story. I'm talking about
you're right. I'm always seeing ads on eBay for Russian clones of the Spectrum or Polish. All these different countries, everyone had a clone of the Spectrum.
every country that actually had some kind of limitation for importing back then those computers, they need to rebuild their own. So the Spectrum was usually the most cloned computer, right? So and it was great, absolutely great.
I suppose it's a bit like Russia, wasn't it? A bit like Russia, where they weren't allowed to import things into the places. And there were places in China, weren't there, as well, where you weren't allowed to import consoles and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, Lee.
I think it was cloned because it was so simple. All the other machines had a complication to them.
And switches. Exactly.
Yeah, and switches. Yeah.
Well, switches were expensive back then. So
exactly, so clone the cheapest one.
Is that why the Spectrum Plus is more money? Because it's got the reset switch on the side?
Exactly.
They wanted to make it for $99.99, didn't they? That's what it was. And if they put a switch on it, it'd have rocked it over.
That's what it stood for, Spectrum Plus Switch.
It's a very interesting and fun computer. It's so small you can just stick it in your in your knapsack or a bag or in your hand and just go with it. It's great.
Yeah. That also has an advantage these days in that with most of the early Sinclair line at least, with those cases being so small, you can get replacement cases, or you can even 3D print them. They're small enough to 3D print the cases, which, like I said, for our world today, where all those cases are broken or damaged or discolored or whatever, now you can fix it all up.
Yeah, that now it's an advantage, right? You can make your own case, and you can make your own keyboard. And that's what actually people do. They make their own keyboards.
I mean, it's getting more and more and more now, isn't it? Where you can just make whatever you want. I mean, I started doing that. Well, not me personally, but I was working with Rob Taylor that did the '60s clones, and we're on with replicating the SX64. Okay. So we've done the full complete boards inside it.
Yeah, I know.
We've tested the CPU one. I'm still testing the FFD board to book that. But once that's done, we're launched out. But like I said, we're at an age now where if you want to make it, just make it.
You can do it,
yeah.
Which is fantastic, really.
I've been meaning to ask you about that. What are you doing about the CRT for those? Are you just going to use a small LCD in place of it?
I was on about this earlier on when I was talking to Joseph about it, and when I first got it, I prefer to keep things original. I don't like taking it away. But when I first bought this SX, it didn't have a CPU card in it. It didn't have its handle on it. It had some broken keys missing out of it. So it was a bit of a Frankenstein. And I was going to convert it from NTSC to PAL. So obviously CRT wouldn't work. So put an LCD screen in it, made a replica CPU board and put that in, started building it up that way. And now Kawari, the Kawari chip you can run in PAL, but NTSC 50. Now before, when I tried converting it to PAL, I had a black and white screen on the CRT, and that's why I put the LCD screen in it, because I wanted it back colour. So now if I can use a Kawari now and run it in PAL mode, but NTSC 50, I should get colour back on the CRT. So I'm in a bit of a trade-off now, whether do I leave the CRT screen in there, so the LCD in there, or do I put the CRT back in?
CRT.
Well, like you said, for authenticity's sake, if you can make the CRT work, that's
definitely.
It was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with CRT. I just wanted to put.
Make it function with the rest of the computer.
I mean, the little beauty's just sat here.
Look at that.
And everything goes straight from motherboard and plugs straight in down at the bottom. If I could hold it without dropping it and cut my fingers to bits. Everything comes straight from CPU board and plugs straight in there. And there's another plug for your audio, and that's it. So I'm thinking whether do I just take the LCD back out of it and slip this back in just to keep it to that original look.
Nice.
So I'm trying that. I don't know what to do with it. I'm indecisive.
Yeah, it's always difficult to decide whether or not, or how far to go with those modern replacement parts, and or keeping just the original. So we were talking before. One, if you have, if you started or you have something that is you cannot really return to original state, then going to this other direction is actually right way to go. So use modern parts and making a little bit more better system than it actually was.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've kept it so I can literally unplug everything, drop that back in, and plug it straight back in. I'm not going to butcher things like that and starting cutting plugs off and soldering wires together. You know what I mean? And I want it to be able to reverse if I wanted to.
Yes.
It's a very hot topic out there. You know, they're very people that say, "Oh, you should mod everything," and others are very purists. It's like, "Oh no, you can leave it exactly the way it was." But the way I look at it, it's your system. You bought it. You do what you like. You know, personally, if it makes a sense and makes it easier for me as a user to do that, then why not?
Yeah.
Because again, these are 40-year-old plus systems. They're not.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be worth £50,000 in the next 5 years or something like that. So.
Well, that's why I wanted to do it to that SX, because like I say, I bought it really cheap because it had a missing CPU board, missing handles, and it's that and all. Frankenstein, I thought I can mod this one because I've already got another NTSC SX and it's mint, and I won't touch that. I'll just leave it alone. You know what I mean?
Right. If you have a working machine that's in mint condition, and then I wouldn't do it. But if you have a second one and you just have the case, for example, then why not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I made a mod too. I have that K Pro computer. It's a big luggable computer. I did a video on that, and I put a GoTech drive in there as opposed to having 2 floppy drives. And some people think, "Oh, that's a great idea," and some say, "Oh no, you should leave it as original." It's like, well, it's not a system that's gonna be worth, hundreds of thousands of euros down the road, and it's a mod that I can revert back, and it makes it easier for me. So why not?
Well, it just takes all the stuff away, doesn't it, from putting mucky discs in and it knackering your heads up. Then you've got to start cleaning them if your disc cleaner doesn't work, stripping it down and cleaning them. Then you put another disc in and it does same again, doesn't it? You know, it just eliminates all that, doesn't it, at the end of the day, putting a GoTech in.
Exactly.
I was about to say the same thing. I mean, it's a usability issue. If it's a computer you intend to use, then the GoTech is the way to go. If it's a computer you intend to sit on a shelf and display for people, then you might want to leave floppy drives in. But floppy drives are, as much as I love them, they're nothing but a nightmare to deal with.
Yes, exactly. But also there is, and we discussed this in a WhatsApp group about new CIA replacement and the prices, and it's
That's
obviously
fucking nuts.
Yes, it is. But for now, this is the only way how we can keep our machines running, because we are running out of the original parts. It's harder and harder to find the original parts, and they are getting more expensive. So sometimes you don't have an option, or you just need to use modern replacement. But the price is unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to come down in price anyway.
I'm going to go for a full set, 2 CIAs, CPU, and a VIC. If they're 40 quid a piece, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to buy a chips when I don't need to, and I've got plenty of original stock ones. But I wanted what I was going to go for them for is to put into that SX that I was building, you see. So I try to take it as modern stuff as I possibly can with it. But they're nice. I mean, the 6526 is something that you're going to have to start looking at, even if you can get a couple of them. It might be really handy to have them.
What I kind of really hope will happen with the JCIA, let Yanni make his money off this first run, and then if he would be kind enough to open source them. And then we could build them or program them ourselves. He's made some money off the first run, and then let the community get what they need to keep their old machines running.
Someone else is going to see that, and they're going to say, I can do that with an FPGA, some level shifters, and I can do it for less than 39 quid. Exactly. It's going to happen.
Somebody's going to reverse engineer it, aren't they?
Well, the FPGA code's out there now.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, you've got things like the Mister, well, you've got a whole load of FPGA gear that has a recreation of a 6526 in it.
Yeah.
So the code's there, the logic's there, and they're not that complicated.
Well, you could also go the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just replace the whole thing.
Raspberry Pis do everything.
So now the question is, the question
You've
is how
probably got
modern
an
do we
easier
make?
chance to get them than us.
Yeah, they are actually hard to get hold of at the moment. They're going crazy. For the last 2 years, actually, I reckon it was, yeah.
All because of
But
that.
With that said, have you tried BMC 64, Rudy?
Have I tried? Sorry, say it again.
BMC 64 on a Pi?
Not yet. No.
No, that's from the same man that made the Vic-2 Kawari.
Yeah.
And that's pretty damn good to use. Really nice. I know Josip's had a go on it.
Yeah, but that's actually just emulation in software. It's actually the device emulator, just ported on Raspberry Pi and using some hardware externals from Commodore 64, so you can use original keyboard and stuff. So it's really nice, and the response is beautiful. The image is great, but still, that's just software. That's emulation.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at that for a project I want to do in the fall, where I have a VIC-20 or VC-20, depending if you're German or not, and it has the early VIC-20s have the same keyboard as the PETs, PET computers, like I have one over here. So what I want to do is actually put one in the case, because I have a spare case, and make it a PET. So it'll be a PET in a VIC-20 kind of case. Something fun and different to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's nice.
They're a nice keyboard, them, to type on and all, aren't them, PET keys?
Yeah, the later PET keys, maybe. Those first chiclet keys count.
I do repairs on the PETs, and when I get one of those, it's like, oh no. Because the regular keyboard, you can actually pull it apart. You could fix it easy. That chiclet one, it's like that ZX80 keyboard. It's just, how do you fix it? You can't. It's very difficult. So I like working on the newer PETs. Yeah. But going back to that emulator, it's a great little emulator. I've seen a couple of videos on it. I think it's really cool. And so I have planned for my MT VIC-20 case.
That's nice.
That'll be a video coming out on a YouTube channel near you, I guess. But so is everyone here just into the Spectrums and the Commodores? Or you guys collect other things, or
no? Steve loves an Amstrad.
He's only saying that because he is the Amstrad lover.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that if you want to keep Captain Commodore as your viewer, Rudy, you're going to have to get yourself an Amstrad CPC.
You'll find an untub if you don't get one of them.
I think they're cool computers too. Again, they're hard to get here. They're expensive. That's the problem with the hobby in Canada. It's hard to get stuff because if you get it from Europe, there's a lot of people there. In the US, there's a lot of, people just go for a drive for an hour and they'll find some community, and they'll have all kinds of different retro computers are giving away basically, and you can pick up stuff like, these vintage computer festivals and, meetups and so on. In Canada, you don't find it as much. And when you do, they're more expensive, right? So it's kind of hard to get. Like, I'd like to get an Amstrad. I'd like to get a couple of the Amstrad machines. I think they're kind of neat and cool. And it'd be kind of
take them all.
So
I think you're just going to be very, very careful, aren't you? I mean, I started out and I had the Xbox One and the 360s and stuff like that, and then I had them all, and then I ended up collecting PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and then I went on to Nintendo. Right. And before you know it, you car boots and you're picking these little cheap ones up here, there, and left and everywhere. And before you know it, you're like this, collecting for everything. So I shut it all down and got shut of everything apart from the Commodores and the Spectrum stuff that I have at the moment. Yes, okay, I do have a BBC. I do have a Spectrum set up out there as well. Amstrad's on the shelf with about a handful of games, which I only bought it because we were doing some game reviews and stuff like that for Bitmap. Bitmap software? Yeah, Bitmap software a while ago. And it's just been sat there ever since, to be fair. But yeah, you've got to be very careful, otherwise you end up on a tangent, flying off buying these stuff and like that. I mean, Todd should know he got an Amstrad and then he got one of those dandinators for it, didn't you? And then you've got Spectrum coming, so he's had to get another one of them for that. And then it just ends up costing you a fortune, doesn't it, if you're not careful?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, you can easily spend a ton of money. You're right, Rudy. It's sometimes easier to find the deals in Europe and in the States. I know Steve has recently gotten hold of an entire storage locker full of stuff.
Yes.
Good, yeah.
Been watching, yes. And jealous.
I think we're all jealous, mate.
Gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked.
Yeah.
I just came across a couple of Atari 800s that I got an amazing deal on, and I Commodore 64 a lot. So yeah, it's easier. But I think we all thought you were making all your computers up in Canada out of moose antlers.
Yes. And they'll last another 40 years and they won't break.
Yeah.
It's the same for us, though.
You have the additional problem of import export. You know, I'm in the States. If I want something from Europe or England, yeah, I have to pay import export. But if I want stuff from the States, I don't have to pay that.
Right.
If you want something from the States or Europe or England, you're paying import export all over the place. So
unfortunately, yes. So don't move to Canada.
We've got the same problem. If we want Apple IIs or something like that, it's an absolute pain to get hold of.
Yeah, unless you're Lee from More Fun Making It, who I believe got an Apple II from somebody.
Yes, I sent Lee an Apple IIe. We were talking for quite some time, and I asked him, "Are you only doing Spectrum stuff? I know you do some other things, but it's like, are you just a Spectrum guy?" He goes, "No, I'm, Anyways, long story short, he wanted a IIe, and he said it's almost impossible to get one there, and it's so expensive and so on. And I just happened to have a spare one. I figured, okay, I'll just send it off to the guy. He's such a nice guy, and so now he's doing some charity, and so I'm trying to send some stuff. I sent some more stuff to him for that. But yeah, if anybody, 8-bits in the basement, I sent Peter an Apple IIe, and he sent me a Thomson the M05 computer, which is a fantastic little computer.
The French one.
The French one. Although I couldn't find the button that translates to English on it, but so
it's a French computer, and you expected to translate to English button.
Well, the app.
I don't think the French would ever do that.
Well,
they would translate to Russian before they would translate to English.
Well, in Canada, we have a province, Quebec, which is like one of your states if you're in the U.S., and it's French speaking. And Apple made computers that have a switch on. The Apple II had a switch on the bottom which flip from English to French.
Well, see, that's an American company, though. That's not a French company doing that.
Wow, you did it for the French population, but anyway. So if I have extra stuff and I find someone who is really interested and wants one and having a hard time getting it, I'll just ship it off as a donation to the channel, because I can't afford to keep 30 Apples and 20 VIC-20s and 66 Commodore 64s and 25 pets and all that. I don't have the room, and if I did that, my wife would divorce me. So
don't forget those.
And then the problem is when you're collecting these things, I'm sure you guys feel the same, is that when you're collecting, it's not just a computer. Now you want the drive, now you want the software, now you want manuals, now you want a monitor. It's like, wait a minute. Now, one monitor is not enough, because if that breaks, another monitor. So next thing you know, it's like you have this storage shed full of stuff that's like, oh my goodness, what have I done?
I'm in a 3-bedroomed house. I live alone. I've got a great big garage out back. I need a bigger house.
So send your money to steveneedsahouse.com.
Hey, Marcus, I see your comment there in the comment section about considering being poor as an anti-retro hoarding safety mechanism. I think all you have to do is start the retro hoarding, and you'll end up being poor. And
exactly, that's true.
So,
but we won't when we retire.
Well, we keep saying that. That's my line to the wife. Just think in the future it's going to be worth loads.
That's right. When you retire, you have something to do. You can leave her alone.
Yeah, you see that SX over there? It's worth £1,500. That is a bloody good holiday abroad.
But I'm not sure about how you guys got into this, but for me, like my first computer was an Apple II Plus clone. I couldn't. We were like poor to middle class, and we couldn't afford to buy an Apple II because it was like price of a car. It was expensive back in the 80s, and I was able to get an Apple II Plus clone with a monitor, drive, and a printer for half the price of a low-end Apple II. So nice. I got that, but zooming 40 years now into the future, I've been getting computers that I've heard of. I could never afford it when back in the 80s, and so I'm getting to learn them now, enjoy them now, which is great. But unfortunately, there's so many computers that you can go broke.
You can. You mentioned the idea of getting now to play with the computers that you wanted to work with as a kid. I can remember very clearly back in 1979 when the Atari 400 and 800 came out, and I lusted over those computers. I really did, and no way I could afford them. They were expensive, even at the time. I think the 800 was $600 or $700 in 1979 money. But I just did pick up those two 800s now that I get to play with after all these years. I never lost my desire to get a hold of those machines.
Exactly, yeah.
Now I finally have, and it's a great thing. So yeah, but you can spend a ton of money.
You can,
especially now the prices are going up. So
yeah, it's crazy, some of the prices now. Like this, I don't know if you can see it really well. I have a Commodore PET. It's a 4032, and they're going for you can buy them for about 1,500 Canadian dollars, which is about maybe 1,200 euros or something like that. It's crazy, the price. It's like, what? Why is that worth so much money? I mean, it's metal. I mean, maybe the metal's worth that much if you bring it to some recycle price. But I mean, why is it worth that much? It's crazy, the money. And that one I picked up 3 years ago for $300. So,
nice.
That only costs $300. The rest of it's postage.
Why did you try to post that?
Yeah, I realized that when I started buying things from the UK. It's like, what? And it takes 2 months to get here. Like, why?
That's why we can't get anything today.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know how it took that long. How long did it take for that to get to you, Todd? It was only a week, wasn't it?
8 days.
8 days.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's different when you're sending stuff like when I sent that TUI to Lee, it took, I think it was under 10 days.
Yeah.
But when I bought the those diagnostic cartridges, it took almost 2 months to get here.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is it taking so long? I ordered the cartridges. I ordered the membranes for the keyboards, and I ordered the Power Tracks. The Power Tracks 7805 voltage regulator. You can replace them, so you don't need the heat sink and so on.
Yeah.
In the States, I think we have a company called Traco that does the same thing.
Yeah. I found out later once I ordered them, but and I also ordered that switch that you can plug in between the cable for your Spectrum. That you can just turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Instead of unplugging it, plugging it.
Yeah.
But it's like, why is it there's two different companies and both took almost 2 months? It's like, are you guys putting on a boat with refugees to get here, or what's going on?
I think it obviously depends on the type of postage. I mean, like I said, the package from Steve got to me in 8 days, whereas I've ordered other things. I think I have a package coming tomorrow from Great Britain that I think I've been waiting for over a month. So yeah, I think it's just the the shipping and how much you're willing to pay for the shipping. I think I paid a lot for.
I think it's that custom declarations as well, because I sent that as zero cost as gift, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I recall reading. I was worried about a package that was coming from England. It might have been your package, Steve, or someone else. Anyway,
yeah,
that stopped through, what was it called? It basically this massive sorting center for international mail in England, Royal Mail, and it sat there for a few days, and I kind of got worried. So I kind of Googled that sorting center, and I see a story about some packages sitting there for a year. But that was like a year ago. They seem to have got it sorted out now. But I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I'm never getting my shit.
I think part of the problem is that a lot of the companies that I've purchased stuff in Europe, they send it through their post. Like it'd be like Canada Post or US Post or UK Post or whatever. And that stuff takes a different road. Whereas if you take it like a FedEx, UPS, or some other company, I think it'll arrive faster. So it depends on the options that the sites offer for selling you and shipping.
Yeah, that is one thing I find frustrating sometimes with particularly eBay, is when I want something and see that the shipping is 3 times what the actual price of the item is. And then I go and look and realize that the seller has picked the most expensive postage possible.
Yeah.
No, I'll take the cheap postage and take my chances on something getting damaged or lost rather than paying that huge price. But you can't go back to the seller and say, "Hey, change your postage. Change your."
That's a catch-22 because I've ordered. This is about maybe 2.5 years ago. I ordered a TRS-80 Model 3 off of eBay, and once I got it, it was a box of just broken plastic and metal. And it wasn't the shipping problem. It was the guy who packed it. He basically put some, one sheet of newspaper around it and put in a box and said, "Here you go." It's like the monitor, the tube had broken off the stand, so it was bouncing around inside the case, damaging,
shattering everything else. Yeah.
But the tube survived. It's like, well, this is wonderful. So go back to eBay and complain, and and it's such a big thing, and that came in like a week and a half. But it's like, well, now it's like e-waste. It was so badly broken, I couldn't repair anything. It was just done.
Yeah. It's like when Britain pulled out of Euro. Sorry, Neil. It's like when Britain pulled out of Euro. Even if we buy something from Germany now, it costs you a fortune. Even I was looking on there. I've been collecting Hit Squad games, and I've come across Parallax, and it's tape only. There's no inlay or all like that. $9.99, and then it's £12 postage and £10 custom import.
Well, send Nigel Farage a bill.
Nuts, absolutely nuts. You're not going to pay £35 for a tape, are you?
You're almost better off renting a car and driving to Germany and buying a whole bunch of stuff, put it in the trunk, or what you call the bonnet, and then bring it back.
No, bonnet.
Yeah, I like to jump on ferry and go across and go out for thrift stores over there.
Go on your European vacation.
That's it. Maybe we should have a YouTube Retro Repairers Germany trip.
Road trip.
Actually, I tried to do that in July. I went to my wife is her parents and family are in Greece, so she's originally from Greece. So we went back for a month in July for a vacation. While I was there, I was looking everywhere for all kinds of retro stuff. Couldn't find much. So, and the beauty was that I only brought a carry-on. I didn't bring luggage, so I figured I could buy a suitcase there and just fill up all the retro goodies and just bring it back. But
so you can be back with that going through scanner, they'll think it's a bomb.
Yeah, but there's no batteries, so we're good.
Sir, come step this way.
The slowest ticking bomb in history.
Yeah, it's only 8-bit bomb, so it won't blow. Let's go.
Exactly,
Why is it a 16K upgrade cartridge for VIC-20 up there?
Well, depending what you're shipping, if it's got a reefer cap, it could explode, right?
There is that. Sorry, Neil, what were you going to say?
I can't remember now.
Oh,
But
man syndrome.
if someone decide to build actual bomb using some 8-bit computer, which computer will be more suitable for the task?
Amstrad.
Like the Spectrum, maybe, because it's small form factor?
Yeah, it just needs to send that beep signal to the bank speaker, doesn't it?
Amstrad, no one's going to mourn it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not going to take any notice if it's sat there neither.
Perfect suicide computer. Yeah, definitely.
It's either that or a Raspberry Pi.
Oh yeah, Pi's do everything, don't they?
Don't waste the Pi. Don't waste.
They got Wi-Fi as well. Don't forget.
Zero. They're only $5.
Expensive. Don't waste the Pi.
Yes, exactly. You shouldn't build bombs using Raspberry Pi.
This is where this channel's getting investigated now.
Keywords.
I got
all the keywords on the planet now.
They took Todd. FBI. Wait.
Oh my God.
Obviously, FBI is on the board. British police are still on the way.
They'll be here in about a month.
After they got past the Just Stop Oil guys in the road.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Well, at least I'm protected. I have to go through customs first, so.
Crazy.
Customs. Have you ever been to Egypt, Rudy?
Egypt. Only on YouTube. No.
Right. I've been over there because I went on a liverboard over there because I'm a diver. And I went on a liverboard diving all around Red Sea, but now they're in there. But last night we stopped in a hotel, and you had to show your passports going into a hotel, and you had to go through a metal detector, and you had to put your bag on the scan tray as you went into the hotel. Wow. Every single time you went into the hotel, you were okay coming out, but going in, you had to be checked every single time you went in, and I was like, that's a little bit excess.
Definitely.
A little bit. What's that beeping? Oh, it's the plate in my head. Don't worry about it.
So what machines are you looking for now then, Rudy?
Right now, I have to check my bank account first.
Don't we all?
Actually, right now I'm working on this. I don't know if you can see it here. It's a dual floppy drive. It's a dual floppy drive for the Commodore PET. It's a 2040, and I got it at a really good price, so I couldn't walk past it. So I got that. And the next thing, I'm actually looking at buying the Harlequin board. The
self-build Spectrum.
Yes, because I like the fact, one, it's a kit, which is fun to do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that there's no ULA. It's basically they've taken the ULA and put it into TTL logic chips, so you don't have to worry about it in the future. It's like future proofing. You have to worry about it not be able to get parts. And this is the part of the pain about retro collecting is that when computers have custom ICs and you can't get them anymore, or there's no modern replacements that don't cost a fortune. It's hard, right? I do have a ULA replacement. I bought one too, but that wasn't cheap. And I thought it might be better just to buy a Harlequin and just, and do that. Yeah. So that's one thing I'm looking at doing.
Have you looked at them at Uno's?
Have I? Sorry?
Is it an Uno?
I think
Spectrum Uno.
Yeah. Spectrum Uno, no.
That's the same as the what's that new one that they've just released? I've forgotten the name of it. Next.
The Next.
Oh, the Next.
You don't mean an Uno, you mean an Engo.
Engo, that's the one. Sorry.
Engo.
Yeah.
I've looked at an Engo. They're I think they're kind of pricey for here, anyways. But they're really neat. I like them. A friend of mine has one that's got the HDMI out, and SD card reader and all that. I think it's really cool.
I was just thinking if you were going to go extreme of building your own Spectrum that way, I think I've been looking at going at that Engo, because at least you're covering more bases, aren't you?
Does the Engo come in a kit form?
I think so.
This one did.
Right.
I bought the transparent case, the key mat, and the metal, whatever you call it, finger guard, all separately.
Yeah, that looks nice, Lee. That's really nice.
It look nice, yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
That's it. Same case.
Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't work. There's nothing in it.
Well, the Engo board I just bought, it drops straight in, but you're right, they're not overly cheap. When I got mine, it was €100.
That's not bad.
No, but now it's double that.
Oh, that's bad.
Crazy.
For a Spectrum, that's not great.
Worth it.
No.
Yeah. So, what else? I'm working. I'm finishing up an adapter board. Actually, I've had it for some time. An adapter board that plugs into the PET that allows you to get external composite out and audio out. On the earlier PETs, the 2001 series, there's no speaker, there's no sound, but you can put sound on it through my board and external video. And my final version is coming. The PCB manufacturer is making it. It's coming, and I'll be able to plug it into any of the PET computers. And the reason I've built it is because I'm doing a lot of PET repairs. And the problem is that, okay, you turn it on, you get nothing. So is it a monitor? Is it the analog board and the monitor? Or is it the board? Is it the user in front of the keyboard? What's wrong with it? I don't know. So with this, I can disconnect the monitor, plug this board in, and get composite out. And I can say, okay, now I know it's the board or the monitor. And if I'm working on it, I'm not turning on and off the power and putting more stress on the monitor, right? Exactly. I can just unplug the monitor, use the board, plug in some composite, an old monitor or capture card, work on it. And then when it's done, then you can plug everything back in and you're good to go. So that's something I'm working on. And then I'm also working on very, very, very early stages with a friend of mine. There's a computer called the Naboo. It was a Canadian-based computer. And it's a Z80 or a Z80 based machine. It's similar to an MSX. And we are working on cloning the board to make a new. First, we want to clone the existing board and then make a new board, which is smaller and better, and then maybe hopefully start selling that off too. Cool. But as for machines, that Spectrum clone I'm looking at, any Amstrad stuff I could find, and some stuff it's just funny. I'm looking for things, but other things fall into my lap. I'm sure you guys
usually it's like that.
It's like retro dust, isn't it?
Like I bought a what's it called? An Atari 600 XL. I thought, oh, this is a great price. I'll buy it. I can't remember the cost. And the guy goes, oh, well, I have this. What else was it? Oh, he goes, you collecting retro stuff? I said, yeah. He goes, I have this printer. I don't know what it is. It's a Omnitrix printer. Do you want it for free? I said, sure. It's the K-Pro printer. It's like, oh, I have the K-Pro computer. I have the matching printer, which now it makes it more valuable because you don't see them in the wild.
No.
So it's funny how you look for one thing and you end up with other stuff, right? So we'll see between now and the next couple of weeks what falls into my lap.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying earlier on about I got shut of all that side of it and just keep trying to get my niche, and then a storage lockup comes along, and it's got Atari in it, and it's got MSXs in it, and it's like, do I? I don't.
No, you couldn't have turned that down.
No,
I couldn't turn it down, but it's whether they do or don't I keep hold of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because I'm just going to go off on another tangent looking for stuff for them ones as well. Then
exactly, I know what you mean. Yeah,
I'll make a few videos out of cleaning them up or something like that, and then let them go. I think
it's pretty rare to get a storage unit with stuff like that.
I was gobsmacked, mate. Absolutely gobsmacked. He contacted me over Facebook, just because he were a friend of a friend, sort of thing. And he contacted me, his channel and that, and he said, "Come over, have a look." I can't remember what I offered him now. There were absolutely all sorts in there, and it were a low ball. I don't really want to insult you. There were a couple of Commodore 64s. There's 1541 disk drives. There were 2 MSX 64Ks. There were an Atari 800 XL. There were a 65 XE. Loads of tapes, loads of other stuff. Amiga, two Amigas.
So Steve, then you'll be the one flooding eBay with all these cheap prices of computers.
That's it. And I said to the guy, I'll just load all of myself because obviously there's a lot of stuff in there that I wasn't really interested in anyway. So I said, look, about 200 quid, and he snatched my hand off. You know, and I was like, should have offered less. No, I was grateful for what I got. The best bonus one that I've just got recently though were 2 Amiga Tier 1200.
Amiga 1200s, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, with accelerators in them as well. I think there's is it a PCC accelerator or something, or 40 or something like that were in one of them. A lot of MIDI stuff that come with it and etc. And that were £100.
Did you get the Amiga monitors too?
I didn't get the monitors with them, but I do have 1084 monitors.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
3 1084 monitors. I've got 3 1702s. 1701s.
A friend of mine is he's a huge Commodore collector. It's his channel is 8-bits. What is it called? 8-bit Commodore Man. Named David Bradley, and he probably has the largest collection of Commodore I've ever seen in my life. Like, I mean, anything you can think of Commodore, he has it. And he had some company in the U.S., a movie production company, wanting the Amiga monitors. And he had a couple he sold in for a really, really, really good price. He really made a score on that. And he was telling me that apparently that the monitors for the Amiga monitors are becoming more rare than the Amiga system itself.
Yeah.
All CRTs are becoming more rare.
And people want the whole set. Like, you can't just have the Amiga, you have to have the proper monitor and so on. I'm not particular about the monitor, although I do have in the corner, I have the 1702 and I have now another 1701. I love those monitors. I think they're the best monitors ever made.
The bulletproof, them, aren't they?
Yeah, for composite, right? I mean, they're great. You know, they got the sound built in. You plug them in, and then even if you mix things around, it doesn't care. Just like, okay, let's get going. And they're very, very solid. I use them for my Apple computers. I use them for my Atari. Everything I'm using that monitor because, again, they're solid, and you can. The nice, cool thing about them, I don't know if you guys realize this, they're built perfectly square, so you can stack them. You can put 3 or 4 on top of each other and have this huge monitor built up of 4x4 monitors, and have them all hooked up, and it'd be something really cool for your base.
I was looking at that the other day because I've got 4 of them, and I was looking at it. I thought about splitting the screen across the 4, if you know what I mean, and you're using it as one screen. But I didn't get right far into looking into that, to be fair. But I thought it would be a good idea just to show that off at one time.
Yeah, so they're great for stacking if you need to have multiple monitors for whatever. I've done a couple of videos where I've done that, and I have them stacked, and it's like they're actually built so you can stack them.
Yeah, a bit like the PVM sort of style, aren't they? So you can do that with them.
Yeah. So what do you guys? What's everyone's next project they're working on?
Well, honestly, we kind of covered that before you joined, but
sure,
can go
sure.
over
Start without me.
My next is probably going to be the Sinclair Spectrum with the Div MMC that I got. So be taking a look at that.
Neil's doing some pottery.
Go on, sorry, Lee.
I said Neil's doing some pottery.
Oh yeah, I've been making cups. Look.
Nice.
Commodore 64. Look.
Are you selling them?
No, I've just been doing them for
He's giving one away. He's giving one away.
I'll give one away on my YouTube channel, yeah, because I hit 300 subs. So make sure you hit a like and comment below. You might
Ring that bell.
No, you're in Canada, actually. No, that's okay.
I was gonna comment on your video that you should specify that that's UK only, or else you're gonna.
No, it's okay. Wherever I send it, it'll get there eventually. I've got to make it fair, haven't I?
Yep.
You should start producing more of them and selling them off.
Exactly. Yeah. Not a bad
Well, I did it. Didn't I give
idea.
that 64 away? That Commodore 64 away, and it ended up going to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't believe he gave Commodore 64 away.
What you should
One
do
day I'll be that big.
Neil, what you do is you should make the mugs, which are great. They're great for tea or coffee. At the same time, Steve can start making the towels he has on the back of his screen there, behind his head, and he sells a package. It'll make millions. All we need now is a Spectrum mug, and we've got everything covered.
No,
Exactly.
He needs an Amstrad one.
An Amstrad one, please.
Yeah.
They're fucking shit, aren't they? They are. They're really fucking shit.
To be honest, I remember looking at them in the catalogue, and I always wanted one of the colour ones, but they were too expensive.
Yeah.
At the time, they were mega money because they came with a monitor and everything. So they were well out of price range.
I went to school with this kid. He had an Amstrad, and it had the green screen monitor.
Yeah, that's
and
what
it put crystal castles on there. I'll never forget this. It took like 20 minutes for the fucker to load because it kept crashing. And when it did load, it was shit. It wasn't even good.
Wait.
I had that one word.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
Trust me, he has told us how he really feels.
My understanding is that that machine is very popular in Spain.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think
So was the Dragon 32. Have you had to go on one of them?
They're good.
I've just seen them. I've never played on one.
You ever used the Cocos, the TRS-80 Cocos color computer?
Yeah, I have a Coco too.
Then you basically used the Dragon.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. And I had a really badly broken TRS-80 Model 3.
Yeah, you did.
But the Dragon though, you can have it has composite out, correct?
I
think
so. Yeah, RF, what standard?
RF.
Commodore loves composite.
Composite.
That's one thing.
Composite, he calls it.
The problem with the Dragon's video circuit was it was primarily made to be NTSC. So what they did was they absolutely smashed the arsehole out of the signal to batter it into some sort of power compliance. So what you ended up with was this absolutely diabolical picture. I mean, it's truly shit. I mean, that was my first machine, the Dragon. And if you get an RGB to HDMI, the little Pi converters, they do a brilliant job on it. But it does put out a type of composite that's sort of compatible. It's really bad quality, though.
You know, it's a shame that, that we have different standards in Europe and North America for video and power. I mean, you have 220, 240, we have 110. You have PAL, we have NTSC. Like, can't we just all get along and be friends and make one video signal, one power? Like, come on.
Well, I suppose the one thing you've got to remember, and I guess I'm playing devil's advocate, is at the time of these standards were all set, there wasn't the kind of communication between different countries. We were a very separate world back then. So it makes sense that one continent is doing something different than another continent, and one country.
And there were no communication between the companies, not just for the video, but for every other standards, every other type of communication, and for keyboard, for the drives, for everything. So they all made their own solutions.
That also happened with the battle with Blu-ray and DVD, right?
And go back farther, beta and VHS.
Right.
and made in VHS, right? Like everybody wants
I
to make.
think, and I could be way off mark, but I suspect it's got something to do with the US being the birthplace of movies. So when the original movies come out and that they settled as 24 frames per second as a cinema standard, they could use what's called, I think it's an inverse pull down, which means that you can use 24 frames going to 30 frames with no quality loss. And I think that's how the Americans had that kind of standard. And a lot of other people adopted it. I think Japan uses it and some other people use it.
Japan uses a variant of NTSC. It's NTSC-J.
Yeah.
Where we just decided to go right off the fucking page and create our own one. And it just...
Well, I'll be magnanimous as an American. PAL is better. PAL is just a better standard. We typically called NTSC back in the day when it was so
never the same color twice.
Never the same color. Yeah. PAL always was the same color. I can't tell you how many times I've
shit.
Perfect analog logic.
back in the day when we used to get the old Doctor Who on our public broadcasting channel, every episode Tom Baker's skin was a different color. It was.
Have you met Tom Baker? He really is like that.
Yeah, like a chameleon.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. But I found if you drink just the right amount of adult beverages, the colors don't all look the same.
I was 15 years old. I was drinking.
You got to start sometime. But it's like it's unfortunate that we have all these different standards. Like now with the Spectrum computers, I have to use my other monitor, which has PAL NTSC. I bought an inverter. The Thomson M05, I had to buy a SCART adapter.
Yeah,
it's like so now we have SCART, then we have composite, then you have RGB, then you have VGA and EGA and CGA and HDMI. It's like, okay, when's enough? Like, let's stop. Okay, let's go. Let's be friends. We have the internet. We can all talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most of us speak English. So let's make one common thing for once.
The problem I've found is with emulation, 50 hertz is an absolute pig to get right, because on a lot of systems that your like your laptop or your monitor will only work at 60.
That's right.
So you end up with this like jutter, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
It should have, realistically, looking back with 2020 hindsight, it would have been better for everything to be 60 frames. Much better.
Well, it would have been better if back in the 80s everything was HDMI and that would have been done with it.
Actually, what on it though with Lumachroma?
It would have been easy to plug stuff in nowadays.
I think Commodore invented, didn't they? So like they invented this video without even knowing it.
Nope, not true. I'm sorry, but the Atari 800 had Lumachroma output.
It did, to be fair. It did.
Well, what Commodore actually did is with serial communication, like for TTL logic. So now we use TTL logic, like from 0 to 5 volts or 0 to 3, without RS-232. And they did it before everyone else, but back then that was the problem. They didn't have proper RS-232. But now it's more suitable for the modern equipment and everything to connect Commodore 64 to modern sensors and stuff like that. So now they're perfect machines to do that. So
the great. Raspberry Pi of the 80s.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Definitely.
And in more ways than one, since the Pi was the first computer to surpass Commodore's sales figures.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah.
I'd like to know why Commodore decided to use serial communications for their floppy drives as opposed to parallel.
Yeah, that one was a little weird.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
like you have to basically have another computer in your drive.
Yep.
It's like, doesn't that make it more expensive?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not many.
I'm not bashing Commodore or anything, but like my Apple drives are basically dumb. They're running off parallel, and you just take your data, throw parallel to the floppy drive, it writes a disk, done.
The
Like
BBC was the same. That was a parallel with the exact same philosophy.
Yeah.
The Commodore 64, when I was a kid, the disk drive was nearly twice the price of the 64.
Yeah.
It was chronic.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Here, check this out. I don't know if you can see it. 1 second.
Yeah, those are huge and heavy. Yeah.
That's a monster.
That's a computer.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
That is more power. That probably has more power than the pet that it's connected to.
Yeah.
It's got two 6502s. What? Why?
One for each drive, right?
It like I understand that you can set it up so if you want to copy, let's say copy disks,
Yes.
you send the command go, and your computer is free to do other things, which is fantastic. But that makes the price a lot more expensive when you're purchasing these things. When you have to put a computer for the drive to work with another computer, it's like.
We never had disk drives in UK. Well, they had them, but we didn't buy them because they were way too expensive. So we were all on tape and cassette decks and stuff like that for us.
The whole Europe never used disk drives. We were always
I think it was.
It was
I think
cassettes.
BBC Micro was the first one I had one. The Commander drive.
Yeah, I knew that because I knew that from talking to you guys, but I've been experiencing it a little more and more as I'm trying to find cassette games for some of the old machines. Like I have the 1530 the C2N cassette drive for my Commodore, and I want to restore it, but I need a tape to test in it. I've been looking online, and you can't find cassette games for the most part in America. I can find all kinds of them if I want to import them from England and Europe. I didn't realize how big the difference was in how much cassettes were used compared to discs. In Europe.
Massively in Europe.
Yeah.
Do you have an Ultimate, Todd?
No.
Right. Okay. I was just going to say because you can download tap files for that and just save them straight back to tape.
I will get one day.
They're good for restoring. You know, when you get a game that won't load anymore and stuff like that. I mean, I've had a few, and as long as you can find the original tap file, you can just save it straight back onto the tape through Ultimate and restore it.
Well, in theory, you should be able to do that with, a computer and, a playback program or something that converts the tap file to WAV and then play it back and, out to a physical cassette drive. Yeah, I suppose I could try doing that. But I wanted something that was pre-recorded, so I thought it would be a reliable source, to make sure that I'm.
Yeah.
40 years later, nothing's a reliable source.
Exactly.
True.
Tapuino.
Well, I've got the TZX Arduino, but it doesn't say.
I guess it's Arduino something. Yeah.
Todd, it's like that, but for a 64.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can look that up. But either way, like I said, ideally I wanted to get something pre-recorded, mass-produced, so that I was getting us something that theoretically at least had the azimuth set right when it was recorded and all that stuff, so I could try to make sure it got the.
You need
As long as we tape, the levels drop. So, like that Ultimate, if I've got a tape that's struggling to load, if I can keep loading it and saving it into Ultimate cartridge, and I get one that loads. As soon as I get one that loads, if I then record it back onto the tape, and I've got one of those load it things on it, so I've got a volume meter, that comes straight off the head. As soon as I load that back in, usually you can see 1 or 2 on it when it's loading. But after I've recorded it back on, it's like up at 6, 7. So the recording level goes woof straight through the roof. And like I say, your old tapes deteriorate, and that level comes down and down and down. So I know what you're saying by buying an original, so you've got somewhere to benchmark. But them originals are not original anymore.
Well, if I could get really lucky and find one that's still sealed in the packaging, that would be close. but it would cost me a freaking fortune. So
it would.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to understand, Todd. What are you trying to do with the tape?
well, I've got a cassette drive that I have no idea what condition it's in. I want to restore it,
Right.
but if I'm going to restore it, I need something to read to see if it's the alignment, azimuth, all that stuff is set right.
And it's a cassette tape for the 64.
Yeah, it's a C2N cassette drive. A couple weeks ago, there was an estate sale right near where I live, and they had a setup, a Commodore 64, two 1541 drives, the cassette drive, copy of Simon's Basic, all the boxes, the C64 boxes, matching serial number, the disk drive box, the cassette tape drive box don't have serial numbers on them, so I can't say they're serial matching, but I got all that for $60.
You should be able to set the tape alignment up with your oscilloscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never done that.
No, that's not going to work.
Why not?
I tried that. The problem with that is you'd have to break off 2 wires from before your first op amp, because you need to set the plastic in the case sets the height of your tape relative to your head.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So it's got to be assembled for you to do it. So you have to disassemble it, break out 2 wires, reassemble it, and jam your probes into that.
Okay. You made actually video about that, right?
Yeah, but because I thought you could just do it on the outside. But when it gets to the outside, all you've got is square wave pulses that are modulated. So all you can realistically do then is start pulse counting. And then, that turns into a fucking headache. But I did order a little AT Tiny, and I'm going to hook up an I2C LED OLED to it, and I'm going to try and make my own version of a load-it.
Right.
But it's a lot more accurate, because rather than counting pulses, I'm going to take it straight from the analog after the first op amp.
Right. I tell you what I have got. I have got an azimuth tape. So when you load it up, and all it does is it loads the program in, and then it just sits there going all the way through it. You can see it on screen, and adjust it and change it to how you want it to be or where you need it to be. So if you want me to try and dump that for you, Todd, and send it over for you.
They're brilliant, because that's got a fixed pulse width.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not anywhere near ready to get to that yet, so I'll think.
No, but if you need it, or all like that, if you think you need it, just give us a shout, and I'll dump it and send it for you.
All right, thanks. But we were talking about just the general use of cassettes in Europe compared to the States, and that's all I was trying to get at there. We went off on a tangent.
Went off on one.
As we do.
I think some of the earlier Commodores had an IEEE interface.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was a lot faster than the serial.
Well, you could do it through user port, couldn't you, on 64? I think Rudy's got one. That's not,
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Yeah.
It's different to ours, isn't it?
You know what, mate? When you showed me that picture of that broken wire, I come upstairs, I pulled 3 tape decks out, pulled them in bits, and they were all different motherboards.
Yeah, I still can't find where that goes.
Does it matter?
Just cut it out. It's a spare wire. You don't need it.
It could be. You never know with Commodore. They might have just used too many core wire for it this time.
Exactly, yeah. Spare wire. Over-engineered.
Here's a question for you, Commodore experts. Is there any productivity software for the C64?
Oh, yeah.
Like a word processor, spreadsheet,
yeah,
these kind of things?
Yeah.
GEOS as well, isn't there?
Yeah, GEOS as well.
GEOS operating system for it?
Yeah, that I've seen, but I've never seen anybody use a spreadsheet or word processor on a 64. Everybody knows just plays games on them.
I'm trying to think of the names. There were a couple of mainstream ones, then a bunch of different other companies made some for them. But I'm trying to think of the ones that Commodore released. I can't think of it. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But yeah, there were definitely word processors, spreadsheets. There were even databases.
Yeah, they were in the adverts, weren't they?
Logo creators and all sorts of stuff for them, weren't they?
Yeah, they were in the adverts with those guy in the suit with his Commodore. That's it.
Yeah. Frankly, I think you can say there would have been very little point in the SX64 existing if there hadn't been productivity software, because the SX64 was supposed to be a business machine. So you're not gonna have your business machine and you're playing games on it. You're gonna have your spreadsheet or your word processor or whatever.
Yeah, Marcus in the chat makes a good point. To see the 128 was better for productivity with the 80 columns.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I end up buying an Apple clone as opposed to a 64, because I could turn it into 80 columns and write documents and so on. Because I had to show my parents, why do I need a computer? Well, it's not just for games. See, look all the cool stuff I can do. Look at William Shatner on the commercial. Look.
That
You gotta trust the Star Trek guy.
It's for me homework.
Shatner
Was
did
the Apple 80 columns?
Black and white, sorry?
Was the Apple 80 columns natively?
No, it's 40 columns. You can get software. There's a program called Magic Windows, a word processor. It'll trick it into 70 columns. But you could buy a card, and it wasn't that expensive, and made it 80 columns. And then when the Apple IIe came out, it already had 80 columns built in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
80 column. Was it an 80 column card, or was that the language card?
No, it's a special card for a different a video card for the Apple II.
Oh, okay.
The language card was just memory.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to learn about. Like I said, I don't know if you watched. I unboxed an Apple II Plus.
Yeah.
The first ever Apple. So I'm just trying to learn the Apple culture, environment, how everything works. I have no idea. So
Yeah, the language card also has I believe has a ROM on it, which is different from. It differs for the basic. One is integer basic, and one is the Microsoft Basic.
Microsoft Basic,
So
yeah.
initially came with integer basic, and then I believe with that card you can now get the Microsoft Basic, which was the most popular basic in the world, right?
Well, it was the most well distributed. Whether it was popular or not is another matter.
Well, that was RSI Basic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then the 2E came out. It had built-in. I think the 2C also has, which was a 2 plus. There's a 2 plus, and then the 2E, 2C, and then
that's the other thing that always bugged me about that line. You got the 2, then the 2 plus, then the 2E, then the 2C that looked much more advanced than the 2E. The 2E still looked like the old 2 and 2 plus, but the 2C had that nice little
it's portable
design and all that.
It was
the
a portable.
2C's the only Apple I've ever wanted, and over here they're just unobtainium.
Yeah, you can't get them.
What, the 2Cs or the 2Es?
Yeah.
Or?
I've never seen one. Never had my hands on one.
Yeah, I have a 2C, but I prefer my 2E because the 2C is portable. Great, it's got a handle, you can walk around, but you still have to get that big power brick for the power.
And
it's up to get an external monitor.
Yeah.
So it's not really portable, right? It's not like the SX64, which is everything in a case. You walk away, right?
So power's not built in.
No, you have a power brick. You have to plug it in like a 64. You have to have a power brick, and you plug it in, and that's it. I mean, it's portable, but not really.
The SX were going to be like that originally. It wasn't supposed to be internal power supply on the SX.
Yeah, the 2E I like better because it has slots. You can actually then buy different cards, develop your own hardware, pop it in, and off you go. Where the 2C was nothing. You can't really add anything to it. It wasn't designed that way, right? Kind of like it's kind of like the Commodore. Was it the Commodore Plus? Was it the 16 or something like that? You had the built-in software in it, but you couldn't do much with it.
Plus 4.
C16 plus 4 on it.
That's it, right? So the 2C was kind of like that. I mean, you had a floppy drive, you could load software, but you couldn't really expand it. I mean, to a degree you could, but not really. So with the 2 Plus and the 2E, it did really well because you could buy external cards for other things from other people, right?
Well, don't forget that was back in the day when Apple still wanted you to modify their machines.
Well, yeah, with Wozniak, that's what that's why the case was designed the way it was, because he encouraged people to open it up and get inside, play with it, learn how to fix it, learn how to build cards for it. I have all kinds of interesting things to be built. I mean, I have at least 20 different cards for my Apple. Do I need them all? No, but I mean, I have there's a voice text to speech. There's a CPM card that adds more memory and actually runs CPM on it, so you can learn all the CPMs, because CPM was big back in the 80s and the 70s. All the business software was CPM, right? Parallel card, a serial card, built-in internal modem, all these kind of things you can put in there, right? I had an EEPROM programmer, so you can actually program your own EEPROMs on your Apple II. So, but you couldn't do that with the 2C.
No, that's because somewhere along the way, someone mentioned the words intellectual property to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everything was proprietary, and everything was don't touch it, and you're not allowed to fix it. You got to send it back to us to fix it.
Well, that's what the Macintosh line's all about, right?
Uh-huh.
Because the 2 series is more Wozniak, and the Macintosh, Lisa, and so on was more the Steve Jobs kind of era. Although I did watch an interesting video on YouTube talking about the Apple Lisa. I don't know if you guys don't know about the Apple Lisa. It's a precursor to the Mac.
Well, not so much precursor as at the same time as.
Was it? No.
Yeah, they're basically simultaneous. There were 2 different teams working on one.
Right, but it wasn't released. It was released before the Mac.
Yeah, it was released slightly before the Mac.
And it was going for $10,000 each.
And they still do. And they still do. You can't get one for less than that right now.
And this documentary was about how Apple was trying to kill it, and they ended up dumping thousands of them into a landfill.
Where's that?
So the documentary
detector.
The guy he finds the actual dump where they've been put in, but they're 30 feet underground, and they won't allow them to dig. So
is that right next to ET cartridges?
Yes.
That's not the island program, is it? What's the island program where they've been digging for ages in that hole and never find anything? That's in Canada, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's Oak Island.
That's it. Is that where it is? Is that what they're after?
Yes, it's off. Probably the same place. We didn't find gold, but we found ET cartridges and Apple Lisas.
What do you mean didn't find gold? ET cartridges are gold.
You know what? That was one of the few cartridges I actually did have as a kid.
Yeah.
No idea.
It was shit, to be fair.
I'm sorry.
Really crap.
It was a horrible game. It was absolutely horrible.
When I got my, well, 2 years ago, I got my 2600, Atari 2600, and it came with ET cartridge, and I just kind of said, no, I don't want this, and just kind of give it back to the guy. No, I don't want it.
It is abysmal. I mean, it is really bad.
I think it's the worst game ever made.
That's what everybody says.
I don't know.
It's gonna be up there.
SC Battle was pretty shit.
Was it?
I was really disappointed getting that one as a kid. Yeah, that was rubbish.
Oh, look, it's a flying cat.
It's a big cat, that is.
Cat. Kitty cat.
Do you use them for your cat scans?
That's it. He's buzz-eyed.
Kitty on the screen.
Talking about games. Talking about games, I'm really enjoying Jetpack.
Yeah.
On the Spectrum. Wow, what a cool game!
I haven't got that. I want that game.
What are you playing it on?
On my Spectrum.
Have you tried it on the VIC-20?
No, they haven't for the VIC-20.
It's surprisingly good.
I'll have to look for that. I didn't know they had it for the VIC-20.
The 64 version as well, isn't there? For 64.
Is that?
I think so, yeah.
But it was first. Was it first released though for the Spectrum? Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got it from tapes. It's like, oh look, jetpack, and it's like, okay, I'll just test it. Yeah. An hour later, it's like, oh, okay, I guess testing is over now. I think it works.
You gotta try, and I haven't tried it very much, but I need to mess with it more. Jet Set Willie. Just because that's the game that pissed Clive Sinclair off so bad. He hated
Chucky Egg,
Chucky Egg, yeah.
Manic Miner, Attic Attack, absolute classics. Really superb quality games.
That's
For the Spectrum.
like I said near the end of my last video. I've got to get around to sitting down and playing a lot of these games and learning how they work, because I'm loading them up as demos to show people that loaders work, and then I can't play the flipping game and look like an idiot. So
That's because it's an Amstrad. Plug the Spectrum in.
either way, even Commodore games. To be honest, I never had a Commodore 64 as a kid, so I never played the Commodore 64 games. So when I load one up, I have no idea what to flip and do. I got to get around to playing the actual games at some point.
Well, you get a pint of beer, you sit down, and you play it.
That's it.
I am. Yeah.
Rudy, have you got an Amstrad?
Not yet. I'm still looking for one.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I want to.
Oh.
If you are unfortunate enough to get one of these, one of the games you should try is Whizball.
Whizball. Okay.
Now on the 64, try it on the 64 first. Absolute masterclass in how a game should be made. Then try it on the Amstrad.
Okay. I'm getting nervous.
You'll see a big difference.
Definitely missing some very important characteristics that the C60.
It's like, to me, an Amstrad is if you took a Spectrum and took all the good bits out, that's what you're left with.
You're not biased.
He loves them.
It's just
too much.
my problem was
they do have one thing that the Spectrum doesn't: a power switch.
Exactly.
The thing with me was I never owned an Amstrad back in the day, and after I went from a Commodore 128, I had an Amiga and an Atari ST, and the ST has got a very unique sound chip in it. It's the same as the Amstrad, the same as the Spectrum 128, and it's got a very distinctive sound. So when I finally got round to spending an afternoon, and well, it was actually the whole day that I made a video with this shit, and I played this Amstrad, and all I could think was it was a shit Atari ST. That's the only thing that just rung through my ears the entire day.
Yeah, it's the sound that did it, innit? There's a sound on it that's got.
Yeah. But the problem is, it doesn't seem to have any good scrolling, or it really suffers when you put a lot of color on the screen. It's like, because it has to do it all in software rather than having a custom chip for it. So it really brings it to its knees. And some games are absolute diabolical tripe. They're really bad.
But you collect the machines because they're different. I mean, for example, I have that K Pro computer, which you probably never heard of. It's a Z80 based computer, and from California. It doesn't play any games. It wasn't meant for games. It was meant to just use for business software. And it's like it has tic-tac-toe and ladder in like hex in ASCII. I mean, not regular, just like regular letters and stuff. But it's shit. You can't play games on that. It's like, you want to do a spreadsheet? Awesome. You want to do games? It's like, So,
yeah.
And I wanted, because it's something that was different. And that's one reason why I want an Amstrad, because I've never had one. I've never touched one. I've never, seen one in real life. So it'll be just something fun and different to collect and make a video on, because, I got to make content somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all want each.
I'm the same way. I'm covering the Amstrad and the Spectrum. I would love to have a BBC Micro, an Auric Atmos, an Acorn Electron. we never had the opportunity, like you, Rudy, never had the opportunity in the States to experience these British computers that really dominated the computer landscape in England. They barely ever saw an Apple, whereas we had Apples all over the place.
That's true.
We barely ever saw or heard of a Spectrum or an Amstrad. They had them all over the place. And I'm trying not only for my edification, learning to use these machines and experiencing them for the first time, but any of my viewers who are domestic here in the States or in Canada who never had the opportunity to look at these machines, that's why I'm doing it. So
I think it's fun, and it's something. It's like you're bringing back that retro joy again. You're learning, okay, what is the command for this? How do I write this in BASIC? How do I load a program? How do I fix it? So it's kind of like, wow, it's like what old is new again, right? It's like
exactly, that's true.
I'll tell you what. I went and bought a VIC-20. It was a few years ago. I used to have a VIC-20 when I was a kid. I didn't have one at the time. I've got probably about 5-6 years ago now. And I went to this guy's house and he said, "Yeah, I sold it on eBay." He says, "But when you play a game on it and put cartridge in it, the screen's up here like this." And I was like, "What?" He says, "Yeah, it's right off." So, and I was like, "Right, okay, fair enough." Anyway, I offered him what I offered him. I bought it, I brought it home, plugged it in, and sure enough, screen was set off to one side. I goes on to the VIC-20 group. Does anybody know about this fault? And they went, "Yeah, you just adjust it with arrow keys before you start game." But it was just a simple little thing that had completely gone out of my mind and I didn't have a clue about,
See, that's part of the fun of getting a different computer that you haven't played with before, is learning all these nuances, learning what makes it tick and what makes it different. Like now I'm learning and appreciating what people in Europe and the UK specifically love about the Spectrum. I mean, there's so many Spectrum videos out there on YouTube. It's like crazy, but it's cool because it's like, okay, now I have my own. Actually, I have two of them, so I can actually try and play and do these different things that I could never experience before. And it's just a shame that Timex and the watch company in St. Clair stopped their deal to bring these computers to the North America market, because I think the ZX Spectrum and the Plus and even the Amstrads would done well here.
Yeah, they would. Yeah,
I think they would have done well, just like how the Commodores, the 64s, and the VIC-20s did well in Europe. I think it would have worked both ways, but unfortunately, it didn't happen.
That Atari 800 XL, when I first got that, I'm trying to load games on it. I'm putting tape in, setting it off, and going load. .cas, off you go. Why don't it work? Every single game didn't work apart from the original Atari games. And I didn't realise that you had to press 2 buttons to switch it on to load a machine code game.
I have.
Like I say, it's nice to find these things out.
When I first got back into retrocomputing about 3 years ago, I wanted to buy one of my first computer, which was an Apple II Plus clone, and I actually found one. And the guy was selling it for, I think it was $100. I said, perfect. So I went to pick it up, and he goes, are you doing repairs? I said, yeah, I'm into repairs. I used to be. I'm getting back into it and all that. And he had a Macintosh Color Classic that didn't work. And I go, okay, I'll take that. How much you want? He goes, free. I don't know. It doesn't turn on. So I bring it home, plug it in, turn on, hit the switch in the back. There's no power. It's like, why is it not? Is something broken inside? Whatever. Take it apart, look around, find out after about 2 hours later, there's a button you press on the keyboard that turns the power on. It works. Boot it up, it works fine. It's like, yay. So now it's worth about $500 or more for free. But it's these things that it's kind of fun because you go, oh, I didn't know that, and you learn, and so you're learning new things, and it makes it more exciting when you're learning. Yeah. Not just your favorite computer, like everybody has a favorite, but learning other computers, like, oh, that's cool, that's different from what I'm used to, and it's different, and it's maybe better or worse, but either way, you keep learning, keep your mind going, and you keep it'll keep you young inside your brain, right?
Keep it ticking over. Don't let it go dormant.
That's right. Because the minute you stop and just watch YouTube and do nothing else, you're going to get old real fast.
Shit.
But hit the like and subscribe button.
That's it.
Well, gentlemen, it's 4:10 Eastern Pacific time. I need to run off. I got to take care of a few things, so I'm gonna need to say thank you to everyone for the invite.
No problem.
It was really great meeting you guys.
Yeah,
I seen your videos. It's like, yeah, this is a cool group. And then I've been watching your live streams. Like, oh, this is pretty neat. And then next thing I'm on the show, it's like, wow. So I feel very honored and grateful. And thank you to all of you for having me on. And hello to everyone in the chat. Big hello to my friend Jeremy's Vintage Hillbilly. We are working on a project together for the ZX computers. I'm not saying anything more about it. It's a special surprise coming hopefully sooner than later. And yeah, and have a great day. Enjoy, and have a pint on me. Send the bill to Todd, but have it on me.
It's been lovely having you on, Rudy. It's been a pleasure. If you want to come on again, just hit us an email up, and we'll get you on again anytime. You're more than welcome.
I'll get in touch with you about that board, Rudy.
Yes, thank you. All right, take care, guys.
Cheers, Rudy. See you later, mate.
Bye. There he goes.
Cool.
Joseph, your mic's off, mate.
That's why he's swearing now.
You,
No, we still can't hear you. Write it on a piece of paper.
Slideshow next time.
The end. No.
oh, he's lost it.
Yeah.
He's looking confused.
Yeah, I know. How about now?
There you go.
There you go. We can hear
How
you go.
about now? Yeah, okay. So yeah, we could all wrap up this show for tonight because I will have to go as well. If you guys want to stay a bit, you can.
No, well, I think we've been running nearly 2 hours, haven't we? You can always wrap it up, and we can have a chat afterwards at back if you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So
okay.
see you for the next time.
Thanks everybody for attending.
Next live stream is on
Cheers, everyone.
Neil. It's on Neil. Is it that way? That way? That way? That way?
No, it's the other way.
Neil. Yeah, later, guys.
Bye.
See you later.
End stream.